As Halloween approaches, we thought we'd put together a list of some of the horror movies we've enjoyed recently. Apologies if I sound like Marlon Brando in The Godfather. At the time of recording, I have a cold. We've gone for variety in our list. Comedy horror, psychological horror, just plain horror. So hopefully there's something for everyone. It's a Halloween tradition here to watch a horror movie on Halloween night, and we're on the lookout for recommendations, so please fill up the comments with your thoughts. These are all shiny new suggestions. If you want to check out some of our previous recommendations, head over to our top 5 horror films you might have missed. The link will be in the description. And so it begins with Sting, directed by Kia Roach-Turner and starring Ryan Kaur and Alila Brown. The latter potentially recognised as the young Furiosa in the latest movie in the Mad Max franchise. Sting takes place in one apartment block and follows Charlotte, a young girl who lives there with her family and new pet spider, Sting. Sting is, however, not so much a pet but more a menacing killing machine. It's a contained creative web of a horror movie and one we thoroughly enjoyed. Sticking with our arachnid theme, we have Cobweb. Directed by Samuel Bodin, the story follows Peter, a young boy who lives a lonely life with his overprotective parents, played by Lizzie Kaplan and Homelander. Anthony Starr, he does have an actual name. One day, Peter starts hearing noises in the walls, and they all lived happily ever after. Said no one ever. This movie is not what we expected it to be, and I say that in an entirely positive way. The dark, melancholy home they share makes for a great setting, and there are some quality performances from all involved. We move on to Wrong Turn, also known as Wrong Turn: The Foundation, the one released in 2021, the reboot. Apparently this is a whole franchise, but they forgot to tell anyone. This one is directed by Mike P. Nelson and stars Charlotte Vega from Rec 3 Genesis and Matthew Modine from Cutthroat Island and Stranger Things. Yes, he was in Stranger Things as well. Wrong Turn sticks to the formula in that a group of people get lost and there are definitely some gory moments, but in this particular turn there's an actual engaging story, peril, interesting characters, an intimidating setting. When is a vast forest not intimidating? When you hear Wrong Turn, you might think, why on earth would I touch that 7-movie franchise with a barge pole? But think again, this one is different. If you're one of those people that didn't give up on Star Wars after they introduced Jar Jar Binks, bring that same can-do attitude to the Wrong Turn franchise. On that positive note, we move on to The Ritual, not in any way a positive movie. Directed by David Bruckner and starring Rafe Spall, The Ritual sees a group of friends embarking on a hiking holiday following a tragedy. Based on the book of the same name by Adam Neville, the setting is dark, isolated and intense, with their insecurities and friendships explored alongside the very bad time they experience in the woods they pass through. The story is wrapped up in some intriguing Norse mythology, and the climax of the movie is butt-clenchingly tense. The performances, effects and lighting in particular are fantastic, and at a sweet 94 minutes it's an ideal horror mythology lost in the woods yarn for Halloween night. Bounding ahead, we have Renfield, where Nicolas Cage has the time of his life. Kind of gives that impression in most of his movies, but in Renfield he's cranked it up somewhat. Alongside Nicolas Cage, Nicholas Hoult stars as the eponymous Renfield, with Chris McKay on directing duties. Incidentally, McKay also developed the story for Dungeons & Dragons: Honor Among Thieves, another awesome movie. Renfield is about Renfield, Dracula's familiar who's gifted with powers and immortality, something which he comes to resent. This is definitely in the horror comedy category with plenty of humour, coupled with plenty of gory moments. There are some interesting casting choices. It's hard to ignore that Ben Schwartz is the voice of Sonic the Hedgehog now. He does make a good wimpish gangster though. Sheree Adashlu is brilliant in everything she does, her latest being a Maroni in the Penguin series. A fun, bloody movie with Nicolas Cage finally playing Dracula. What more could you want? Staying with Cage for the minute, we have Colour Out of Space, based on the Lovecraft short story The Colour Out of Space. Not sure why they dropped the, but it's a minor gripe. Cage is Nathan Gardner, who moves his family to his late father's farm, which is promptly visited by a meteorite in their front garden. Many strange and horrific occurrences follow, as the family are tormented by the colour which has originated from the meteorite. There is one particular scene that is just hard to shake. It's Lovecraft through and through, with that unique imagination. You want to unsee it, but you can't. It's very exciting to hear that the director, Richard Stanley, is now working on the Dunwich horror. He did a cracking job of this story, so hopes are high for his next project. Next up, we have The Borderlands. No, not the one based on the Gearbox game. We are not in a rush to see that. Galadriel or no Galadriel. The Borderlands, directed by Elliot Goldner and starring Aidan McArdle and Robin Hill. It is also known as Final Prayer in the US, in case it's tricky to locate. The movie follows three men as they're tasked by the Vatican with investigating supernatural activity in a small church in a Devon village, that old chestnut. It's a found footage affair, and this device is used very effectively. It's an old, quiet, eerie church. Plenty of opportunities for scenarios not unlike Paranormal Activity. I guarantee it will be both an incident with a farm animal and the ending that will stay with you after viewing. If you don't like confined spaces, I would maybe plan to sleep through the end of the movie. Following that bombshell, we have As Above, So Below, starring Perdita Weeks and Ben Feldman, and directed by John Eric Dowdle. This is another found footage tale. There's a lot of that going around, but this time we're taken to the catacombs of Paris. The plot follows a young academic and her quest to discover the Philosopher's Stone. Spoiler alert, Harry Potter, this is not. And again, if you aren't a fan of confined spaces, look away now. The catacomb setting is very cool and makes for some very effective camera work, lighting setups, and, shall we say, alarming moments. Small detail, but again, it's a pleasing 93 minutes. Love these horror movies and their favourable runtimes. Our penultimate offering is Little Monsters, another one that fully embraces the horror comedy label. Directed by Abe Forsyth and starring Lupita Nyong'o, this movie is loads of fun. You're taken on an unexpected journey with Audrey Caroline, a primary school teacher who was just hoping for a fun trip to the farm with her students. Alas, it was not to be. Because of course, a zombie outbreak is just across the field and heading straight for a bunch of 5-year-olds. All that stands between them is Miss Caroline and Dave, a musician parent who volunteered for the trip. Definitely the wrong day to start volunteering. It's very silly and very funny, and yes, 94 minutes, so if you want some light zombie entertainment and you've already seen Shaun of the Dead 200 times and want something new, give this a go. Lastly, we have Talk to Me, the 2022 supernatural horror brought to you by Danny and Michael Filippo and starring Sophie Wilde and Miranda Otto. Yes, Eowyn. Firstly, this movie has a really strong, impactful opening to reel you in. It's a real what the hell moment, and it does its job very well. The MacGuffin is a severed and embalmed hand. When you hold it, you can talk to the dead and allow them to possess you. What could possibly go wrong? Well, as it turns out, a lot. There's actually more to this movie than Thing's angry cousin, though. We have a bunch of engaging characters, led by Wilde's Mia, a troubled and lonely woman who appears to communicate better with the dead than the living. Great premise, great characters, and a great ending. See it and talk to us later. And so we've come to the end of our list. As always, we would love to hear your thoughts and recommendations. Are you a supernatural horror fan or more a lover of the slasher movie? Will you be sat watching Halloween 100, eating all the orange Skittles because no one else wants them? Happy Halloween, happy Samhain, and have fun storming the castle. Thanks very much for listening. If you'd like to contact us or check out what we've been up to, you can find us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. If you enjoyed the video today, please do like it, subscribe to the channel, and ding the bell to receive notifications about new videos. See you in the next one.